Hi, this is Clara Sue co-hosting with John Rose for the San Francisco Open Mic Poetry Podcast TV show. And today I have Adelle Foley as my guest. Hello, Adelle.
Hi, Clara, and thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming. Adelle, you are a haiku artist. And can you tell us a little bit about what haiku is?
Haiku is a traditional Japanese form. It traditionally has 5 syllables in the first line, then 7, and then 5 again.
Wonderful. Now, you've been writing for a long time, and
Well, I've been writing haiku since 1989.
Do you still remember your first haiku?
Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness. Let's hear it.
Early plum blossoms on the streets of North Oakland announce the new year.
Wonderful. So let's hear Adelle Foley read.
This first haiku sequence is in memory of Chauncey Bailey, the journalist gunned down on the streets of Oakland. Had to cross the street to avoid the police cars on my way to work. Behind yellow tape, he lay under a white tarp, his feet sticking out. Leaning on a car, an officer interviewed an old Asian man. "Did you see someone approach the victim and shoot? Which way did he run?" I pass this corner on my way from the BART train almost every day. A nice neighborhood, friendly senior citizens, no sign of danger. Suddenly scary. Downtown and in broad daylight. Murderers live here. The next day, a shrine, teddy bear, candles, flowers. You are in our hearts. And this is several haiku about Oakland and my writing. In the early light, the house is cold and quiet. Christmas is over. Sunlit streets washed clean. Tulip blossoms just open. Neighbors still asleep. Hands too numb to write. I'll just have to memorize this chilly haiku. He sleeps on the seat behind 3 large garbage bags like a pile of rags. My words are naked without the familiar frame of 575. And this haiku was written June 16th, 2004, exactly 100 years after the action in Joyce's Ulysses. I would love to walk Oakland as Bloom walked Dublin in 1904. 15 haiku for Vicky. I've known you so long, I always figured that I could reach out and find you. A half century from high school to Medicare is hardly enough. A shared passion for Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie cemented our friendship. You were really smart, a whiz at math and science, crazy about books. Your dad took us down to Disneyland the summer after it opened. Tom Sawyer's Island, the old creaky jungle ride, filled us with wonder. We both married young, settled in California, never more to roam. Oakland and LA were close enough to keep our busy paths crossing. My husband joined us at museums or bookstores, brunch, lunch, or dinner. Bioethics mixed law, science, and politics. Reflections of you. You loved your daughters, fiercely proud of the women they had become, but it was the twins who captured your heart, filled photo albums. You said you were sick, understood maybe too well what was happening. I called to check in for a year's worth of weekends. Where will I call now? Once more, Jack and I will eat breakfast in your honor at Delancey Street. And this is Syrian Journal, the first part, 2003, well before the problems. I am afraid for our friends in Syria in these days of turmoil. The incessant horns don't clear traffic jams on the streets of Damascus. Step off the high curb, follow a native between the cars to safety. The traffic police at major intersections smile and say, "Welcome." It's like Mexico. Don't drink water, eat only if cooked, canned, or peeled. They walk arm in arm, only one wears a headscarf on their way to class. National Museum. Museum artifacts strewn about the garden or propped against the wall. With Lonely Planet, you find the old synagogue, murals on the walls. There are no Jews left in Damascus. They left when the borders opened. In the castle, Crac des Chevaliers, a real crusader's castle, ruins of huge stones. We sit in windows of a chapel, picture knights at round tables, listen to stories of metal gates, boiling oil, catapults, boulders. But the castle fell to the Malamutes who sent the crusaders home. Palmyra, the amphitheater decked out for a Spanish prince. Jack does a time step. Hama, giant water wheels turning slowly overhead in the setting sun. In the atelier, the artist offers coffee and a cigarette. Aleppo, the citadel floats above our heads, bathed in light against the night sky. On the highway, cattle wander through small plots of green vegetables, not a barn in sight. Micro-mini trucks, powered by motorcycles, filled with potatoes. A tent and a goat in a field by the roadside. Bedouin, we shout. I cannot capture this magic with my camera. I've only my words. And then Syria, 2012. Email puts our son in frequent contact with his friends in Damascus. A bomb exploded outside the souk where one man owns a clothing store. Another young man asks about fellowships to study in England. A young woman writes that her family has moved to the Emirates. We shudder to hear, life has become difficult. Keep us in your prayers. I am afraid for our friends in Syria in this savage turmoil. 60 years later, after the internment camps, they were our neighbors, torn from our community. How could this happen? How could this happen? Nurseries and barber shops sold at bargain rates. Sold at bargain rates. Please take the horse and chickens. And the fields left fallow. And the fields left fallow. Crying for children's laughter, young lovers meeting. Young lovers meeting near barbed wire, guard towers, boredom and hot dust. Boredom and hot dust, faded memories. At last, soft voices speaking. Soft voices speaking to those who did not witness. Utter disbelief. Utter disbelief. It will not happen this time. They are our neighbors. Jack suggested that I write my column in iambic pentameter, Shakespeare's form, and this is an excerpt from one of my columns. Jasari Gibson goes to Horace Mann.
A straight-A student and a leader, too.
The OUSD chose him to attend.
A conference of young leaders in D.C.
He asked the NCPC to help out.
And there he found the funding that he sought.
From firefighters, Local 55.
His neighbors and the Prayer Tower Church.
We wish him luck. will tell of his adventures
when he comes back from Washington, D.C.
This poem is in memory of Alan Cohn, based on L'Auvergnat by Georges Brassens, first in French and then the translation. Toi, gentilhomme, car tu es mort, quand le croque-mort t'emporte, qu'il te conduise dans les nuages d'un autre âge. Gentleman, for you are dead, when the undertaker carries you off, may he bring you to the clouds of another age. And finally, learning to shave, for our son Sean, father teaching son, the haiku that gave the name to my book. A nick on the jaw, the razor's edge of manhood along the bloodline.
Thank you, Adele, for your haikus. And here are some haikus that I wrote for Adele. Urban night lets loose. Happiness is in the steps. A pair of good shoes. Haiku artists write 575 with a kick and sometimes a bite. Couples' usual stuff. Same laugh, same sigh, same rough talk, expressions of love. Thank you for listening and tuning in. This is Clara Sue co-hosting with John Rose for the San Francisco Open Mic Poetry Podcast TV show. See you next time.